Tonight, more cases of the coronavirus confirmed in San Antonio. We're taking a look at local homicide trends over the past several years. Plus, a cold front headed our way and could bring the potential for a light freeze. Thanks for joining us for KSAT News at 9. From here in the KSAT 12 newsroom, I'm Myra Arthur. We're getting an update on the coronavirus evacuees who are still in San Antonio. More than 100 remain quarantined at Joint Base San Antonio-Lackland. Their temperatures still checked twice a day. If they develop any symptoms, we're told they're taken off base to be evaluated. 6 people confirmed to have the virus are currently being monitored at the Texas Center for Infectious Disease on the city's south side. 5 of them came from the cruise ship that was docked in Japan. The other person infected was part of the first group that came from Wuhan, China. Local leaders continue to stress the threat to the community remains low. But the situation is far from over, as the end of the latest quarantine period is still a week away. And as Patty Santos reports, the number of confirmed cases could grow as evacuees continue to get tested.
It could take 2 to 3 days to get those test results back, but an increase in the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases would not surprise federal officials. These new patients were part of the group of evacuees who arrived from the Diamond Princess cruise ship a week ago.
There are people like you and me who happen to be on vacation enjoying themselves and then became involved in a group of people who were potentially exposed to this virus.
Local leaders say the people who were on the cruise ship were older and more at risk of becoming ill. Mental Health made it clear there is a 14-day quarantine period to check if anyone develops symptoms for the virus. But once a patient does show symptoms and tests positive, Mental Health says the virus could stay in the body anywhere from 16 to 30 days after those symptoms have been resolved.
This is based on our previous experience with other coronaviruses.
During a media briefing today, officials said patients being monitored at JBSA Lackland who develop signs will be sent to the Texas Center for Infectious Disease, where there are more than 20 rooms set aside.
It's okay to acknowledge that we're doing really great work, but we're also at max capacity.
Health officials say there are 144 evacuees in quarantine in San Antonio. We also got a better understanding of what it's like for those in isolation.
Our individuals are remaining in their rooms and keeping to themselves. And if they do go outside, if they need to pick something up, pick up their lunch that's outside their door or something, they are wearing their masks.
A Texas woman who was evacuated from Wuhan to California, who had the virus and is now on watch, is expected to arrive in San Antonio soon to finish her isolation period.
Your governor said, let's bring her home. So she's coming to us here to be part of the group that will continue to follow over at TCID.
And Myra, it's unclear how many more, if any more, evacuees will be brought into our community. This latest round of quarantine involving the cruise ship patients ends March 2nd. Anyone who does not develop symptoms or tests positive will be allowed to leave. Myra?
All right, more to follow. Thanks, Patty. Katie Blake joining us tonight to talk about some big changes headed our way, of course. I mean, I feel like I say that all the time when we're talking about the forecast, but
man,
it remains true this week.
Yeah, another cool down heading our way, setting us up for a light freeze later this week. But before we even get there, we've got a really windy day coming up on Wednesday. So that is going to be something that we've got to get through before we get to the freeze. So be ready to hold on to your hats. Here is a look at our morning low temperatures across the area. I just realized I forgot to not only did I forget to take off my sandals and put on my heels, I also forgot to switch over to the other computer. So I can just wrap this up real quick and toss it back to Myra, and then I'm going to go get the correct graphics because we do have a lot to talk about weather-wise, Myra. So I will be back.
Well, and I've got my tennis shoes on, so you're in good company. Thanks, Katie. A driver plows into a crowd at a parade in Germany and a massive tribute in LA today for Kobe Bryant and his daughter. And 2 snowmobilers trigger avalanches that they survived in Colorado. Here's tonight's 9 at 9. In Germany, a man arrested after police say he drove into a crowd of people at a parade. At least 30 people were hurt. Investigators say it appears this was a targeted attack, but so far no motive has been released.
A San Antonio police officer arrested overnight, accused of punching his girlfriend's 14-year-old son.
Robert Gaitan is charged with injury to a child. Gaitan has been with the police department for 11 years. He will be placed on administrative leave while an internal affairs and criminal investigation is conducted. Vanessa Bryant is now suing Island Express Helicopters for the deaths of her husband and daughter, NBA icon Kobe Bryant and 13-year-old Gianna. Island Express owned the helicopter that crashed last month, killing the Bryants and 7 others on board. The lawsuit claims Island Express is liable for the actions taken by the pilot, who also died. The complaint alleges he did not properly monitor the weather or abort the flight due to unsafe conditions. Meanwhile, Kobe and Gianna Bryant were remembered by more than 20,000 family, friends, and fans today during a tribute in Los Angeles. Among those who spoke today, Vanessa Bryant and NBA legend Michael Jordan.
Gigi would have most likely become the best player in the WNBA. She would have made a huge difference.
In the game of basketball, in life, as a parent, Kobe left nothing in the tank. He left it all on the floor.
Here at home,
a murder suspect released from jail on a $300,000 bond is now on the run tonight.
David Hinojosa was released on bail January 4th. A warrant for his arrest was issued last week after he never showed up in court. Hinojosa is accused in the September 2017 shooting death of Joseph Torres, who died at a Southeast Side bar. Anti-government protests disrupt a music festival in Chile. When police responded with water cannons, the protest quickly turned violent, with protesters throwing stones and Molotov cocktails at police. Protesters destroyed a number of businesses in the area, including the hotel where many of the festival's artists were staying. A local man arrested after investigators say he confessed to burning down 2 mobile homes in far west Bexar County. Marco Martinez reportedly told Bexar County arson investigators that he started those fires for stress relief.
That fire tore through this trailer home, causing the roof to collapse, leaving behind charred studs.
Martinez is facing an arson charge. Video shows a scary situation for a pair of Colorado snowmobilers. As the first one speeds up the mountain, he sets off an avalanche, and his partner is taken down by it. Then 2 more avalanches are triggered. Both men survived because their heads remain above the snow. Thanks to some quick-thinking Floridians, a woman is rescued after driving her car into a canal. A man was driving by when he noticed the car in the water. He and some others nearby safely removed that woman from her sinking SUV. To read more about these 9 stories, go to ksat.com. Last year, San Antonio police reported the lowest number of homicides since 2015, but there were still more than 100 murders reported in the city. Many of those remain unsolved. Digital journalist Farah Sabawi gives us a closer look at those numbers and what they mean.
2019 marked the 3rd straight year of decline in homicide numbers in San Antonio, with 105 murders. The city's homicide rate has been going down since 2016. In 2018, 108 murders were reported. In 2017, 126 were reported. There was a spike in 2016 with 151 homicides reported to SAPD. That spike was consistent with trends across the country. Nationwide, murders were up in 2016. Here at home, at least 6 of the documented incidents from 2019 had 2 or more victims. In a particularly disturbing case from back in April, a 14-year-old is accused of shooting a woman and her pregnant daughter. That 14-year-old has been charged with capital murder.
I don't see no age in this. I see a man who killed 3 innocent people.
Not that that's going to bring my daughter back, but it's justice.
In another family incident in August, police say a man shot his mother, grandmother, and uncle before turning the gun on himself. Of the 105 cases SAPD got in 2019, the department says there are more than 30 that are still unsolved. Among the unsolved cases, the first and last murders of last year. On New Year's Day, 2019, 7-Eleven store clerk Timothy Collins was shot several times. And on December 30th, former Madison High School football star Aiden Hoffman was found with a bullet wound to his upper body. He died at the hospital hours later.
And I feel like this senseless act needs to stop, and I want his life to be something more than just, a statistic. He needs to be somebody that this event was tragic, but something positive needs to come out of this.
Also unsolved, the murder of John Ryan Burden. The Coast Guard vet was found shot to death outside of his apartment in January of 2019. His family spoke to KSAT on the 1-year anniversary of his death with a message for the person responsible.
Whoever's watching and whoever did this, you know, I hope you don't sleep at night. I hope you think about what's going to happen to you, if not in this life, in the next.
The shooting of Savon Kyle also remains unsolved. Kyle was shot and killed at the Rim in early December. At the time, San Antonio police said they believed he was targeted. Detectives say they are very motivated to solve these cases. Anyone with information should call SAPD's homicide unit at 210-207-7635. For the 9, Ferris Sabawi.
If you haven't voted early in the March 3rd primary, you have until Friday. Let's take a look at how many people have voted so far. Today, about 3,900 voters cast ballots in the Republican primary in Bexar County. Nearly 6,300 voted in the Democratic primary. This brings the total number of early voters in Bexar County to more than 55,000. And when it comes to polling locations, some have been busier than others. Here's a look at some of the busiest around town. Brook Hollow Library on Heimer Road has been the busiest with more than 3,400 voters so far. Maury Maverick Library and Great Northwest Library rounding out the top 3 there. As far as the slowest polling location, only 220 voters have cast ballots at Somerset City Hall. Precinct 3 Satellite Office and Texas A&M San Antonio have also been 2 of these slower polling locations. We'll be back in just 1 minute. Here at home, the SAPD officer fired twice for 2 separate incidents involving feces is asking for his job back. Arbitration began today for Matthew Luckhurst. The city and attorneys for the officer began to present their sides. A city attorney says Luckhurst harassed and degraded female officers with a prank. Records show Luckhurst and another officer defecated in a women's restroom at the downtown Bike Patrol office back in June of 2016. Neither flushed the toilet, and Luckhurst smeared a brown substance all over the seat. An officer who was 8.5 months pregnant at the time found the mess.
I had a lot of nausea during my pregnancy, so as soon as I smelled it, I wanted to vomit. I was gagging.
In a separate incident, Luckhurst won reinstatement last year after being fired for giving a homeless man a feces sandwich. He was able to get the firing overturned because the altercation happened more than 180 days before he was disciplined for it. Stories like Luckhurst's have led some people to call for SAPD to address its disciplinary process. The KSAT 12 defenders put together an hour-long special last month focusing on that issue. You can watch that right now on KSAT.com. Turning to tonight's top stories, former Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein convicted of rape and sexual assault. The jury acquitted Weinstein on the charges of predatory sexual assault. Sentencing set for March 11th. The 67-year-old could get up to 29 years behind bars. A sweeping new change to U.S. immigration policy is now in effect. The Trump administration is now implementing what's being called the public charge rule. This will allow the government to deny green cards to legal immigrants who are believed to be more likely to use forms of public assistance, things like Medicaid and food stamps.
It is time for another Adulting Hacks on the News at 9. We're here with Michael Van Cleve, USAA Advice Director. And Michael, we're going to talk about saving money, kind of a rainy day fund. What are some of the first steps that you need to know for that?
You know, having an emergency fund is definitely important. Keeps you from getting into debt, and when things unexpected come up, keeps you from struggling, right? What I would say is when it comes to having that emergency fund is sometimes that can feel like a bit of a daunting task. The best advice I can give you there is just get started. Set a goal for yourself that is attainable, whether that's maybe $200 to start and then $500 and then $1,000 and just kind of work your way up. Talk to your bank and find a way to automate that, or even through your employer, you may be able to designate that part of that payroll deposit goes over to savings before it even hits your checking account.
Yeah, and we know that, like you said, a lot of unpredictable things may happen. What sort of just the initial mindset that you need to have in order to maybe just not have to touch that money? Because I think a lot of people may see it accrue and then think to themselves, well, I have this money. How do you kind of stay away from doing something like that?
The key thing I would say there is set that money aside in a separate account. Don't keep it in your checking account that you use to pay bills or go buy coffee or go to the movies. You really have the mentality of, unless it's truly an emergency, I'm not going to touch that. But what's truly an emergency? You know, it could be things like a loss of a job or delay of income. It could be an unexpected home repair or vehicle maintenance or even a deductible if you had an accident. Those are things that are emergencies, so just be real honest with yourself before you touch that money.
Is there a set amount that is a good amount to have for just a rainy day fund or just a fund that we can use for these types of emergencies?
The general rule of thumb is eventually you want to have about 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses set aside. That can feel a little bit overwhelming. So I would start off with a smaller goal. Once you hit that target, you know, celebrate, not by spending it all, but celebrate, give yourself a pat on the back, and then start working toward that next goal of maybe 1 month of living expenses, and then 3, and then 6.
Any final words for people that are maybe don't have money saved yet or haven't sort of, you know, gotten into the process of saving money, maybe just like that initial start of how to kind of get that going?
Yeah, to get started, you know, again, I would say definitely try to automate it. So whether it's through your payroll deposit, if you can segment that, or talking to your bank, look at your spending, see if there are a couple of things, no matter how big or small, you can cut back on. The key thing is get started. Once you get started, you can start to build that momentum. And when you start to see that account balance grow, it'll make life a lot easier and a lot less stressful. Because as we mentioned, it's not a matter of if, but when something unexpected will happen.
Adulting Hacks is just one of the series we feature exclusively here on the News at 9. Take a look at some of the others that we have. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for some financial advice in our consumer series we call Money It's Personal. All right, her computer is fixed, her heels are on. We are ready for the forecast.
I got a little bit taller. Yeah. We are, yes, ready to go now because we do have some big weather changes that will be taking shape over the next couple of days. We actually had a weak cool front move through this morning. You may have noticed it did a great job of dropping humidity for us this afternoon and this evening. We did hold on to a good amount of cloud cover today, but that cloud cover will be continuing to kind of move out and skies will become clear overnight. That will allow our temperatures to fall into the mid to upper 40s through early tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning will be a good bit cooler than what we saw today. Also not as humid. Tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at high temperatures climbing into the mid to upper 60s with winds becoming breezy, especially in the afternoon hours. We've actually got a second stronger front that will be moving through tomorrow, but it's not going to be marked by any chances of rain. But you'll notice this front, especially tomorrow evening. This time tomorrow, I think we'll be having some gusty north winds settle in across South Texas because this second front is going to pull in some colder air for us, but also gusty north winds. So here are your futurecast winds into tomorrow afternoon. A little bit breezy at times for sure, but the highest wind speeds will settle in Tuesday night into Wednesday. So here's 6 a.m. Wednesday morning. And something else you need to factor in for Wednesday morning is that our temperatures will be falling into the upper 30s, low 40s. Factor in this breeze and we'll have a wind chill to deal with as you head out the door Wednesday morning. Winds will stay gusty, gusting up to 30, 35 miles per hour through the day on Wednesday. It won't be until after sunset Wednesday evening and then Wednesday night that we'll see winds finally start to relax. But the light winds will play a part in seeing our temperatures fall below freezing here in San Antonio. Forecast morning low on Thursday, 31 degrees, upper 20s in the hill country. So that is a light freeze settling in Wednesday night through very early Thursday morning. So any vegetation that you have out there that's very sensitive, either cover it or bring it inside if it's a potted plant or something that you can bring in, because another freeze on our hands. We are approaching our average last freeze date here in San Antonio. That's toward the end of February, February 27th. But we are squeezing in at least one more light freeze here over the next couple of days. So just keep in mind tomorrow, things turning windy. Wednesday is just going to be a downright chilly day. Despite a lot of sunshine, look, we're mostly sunny on Wednesday, but we won't make it out at the 50s, and it is going to be quite blustery out there. Very cold to start the day Thursday, and then we'll see a nice warming trend taking us into the weekend. High temperatures will climb back into the 70s, feeling more humid by Sunday, and some showers work back into the forecast by early next week. We'll be right back.
Let's go to ksat.com right now to find out what is trending today with RJ Marquez.
All right, Myra, we got an interesting mix of stories today on our website. And first of all, did you know that today is National Tortilla Chip Day?
Up until this very moment, no, I did not.
I'm not shocked, and I'm actually surprised that this is a national holiday. Yes, it's actually on the national calendar of holidays.
These national days.
I know.
Watch the 6 o'clock. They go, yeah, there's a lot of them.
Just making stuff up here. So obviously San Antonio, big Tex-Mex city and stuff. So we love our tortilla chips and salsa. So we came up with a list of the 15 best places to get tortilla chips and salsa, and this is all according to information from Yelp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the list here, pretty interesting. A couple of restaurants that you may have heard of course, Rosario's. We have one right down here, Pete's Taco House, which is a pretty popular spot. So yeah, some pretty interesting locations here for you guys to check out. And Mar, you know, this is actually pretty serious business. One of my many jobs growing up was at a Mexican restaurant, and they did not let me anywhere near the tortilla chips because they did not want any of that stuff to get messed up. Yeah.
They didn't trust you.
They didn't trust me at all, and I'm glad.
I figured you were just going to eat all of them or something.
That too, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe those go hand in hand.
Maybe. Yeah.
Look how far you've come, RJ.
I know. Yeah. But if you want the full list, head over to our website, ksat.com.
Cool.
All right, switching gears a little bit here. Pretty interesting story. The TSA, yeah, this is always fun, right?
Yes, this is interesting every year.
Yeah, so they have shared their top 10 fines of 2019. So this is stuff that's confiscated in TSA lines, and it is a interesting list to say the least. So here we have samurai swords, kind of okay. People have taken swords on there. Yeah. Number 6, a power saw. What are people thinking? Taking a power saw on there. Okay.
I do not know.
Someone actually tried to take a live snake onto a flight, which, okay, maybe we've seen animals. But number 1, moose poop.
Why?
Your face.
Why?
Your face pretty much says it all.
Why?
Yeah. So number 1 is actually number 2.
Jeez, RJ.
I looked more into this moose poop situation, and it was actually confiscated in Juneau, Alaska. So that kind of makes
it a little better. Here I am worried about, do I have more than 3 ounces of something?
Well, it's definitely not moose poop, right? So, all right, yeah, you can check out this list here on our website. Pretty cool stuff there. All right, last story here. Hot yoga 101. This is something I'll probably never do in my life.
This is information RJ does not need, but is willing to share.
Yes, absolutely. It's all for the viewers here. So, yeah, this is kind of cool. This is a kind of a 101 on if you've never been to hot yoga, what exactly you need to do. And first of all here, we have an image in this article of this gentleman who has his head like against the pavement on a mat. He's bent over. I don't even know what's going on.
It's yoga, RJ. It's what it is.
This seems pretty rough here. Obviously, with these like degrees of, 78 to 95 degrees heat?
I have to say, I've never done hot yoga either. I'm not a, what is it, a yogi? Is that what they
I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah,
once again, something you and I don't do and know very little about.
What is going on there?
Popular.
That looks like something that would hurt me for days on end. Definitely don't want to try it, but for people that are interested in doing this, we have the full rundown of what you need to know.
All right, the ins and outs of hot yoga.
Oh yeah, yeah, Myra, that is what's trending today.
Okay, thanks RJ.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. That's all our time here on KSAT News at 9. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. I'm Myra Arthur. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Good night.